They say genius is born, not made, but sometimes genius is carved from struggle, from silence, from the humblest of beginnings. In a small English town called Stratford-upon-Avon, in the spring of 1564, a child was born to a glovemaker and his wife. They named him William Shakespeare. No one in Stratford could have guessed that this boy, quiet, curious, with ink-stained fingers and eyes full of wonder, would one day reshape the world's understanding of language, love, and life itself. William grew up surrounded by the rhythm of everyday life. Market stalls, church bells, laughter, and gossip echoing down narrow streets. His father, John Shakespeare, was a tradesman, respected for a time, but fortune has a way of shifting. When debts and business troubles came, young William learned early what it meant to see pride crumble. He watched, listened, remembered. At Stratford's grammar school, he studied Latin and classical literature. He devoured the stories of Rome and Greece, tales of kings, betrayals, and forbidden love. Those stories planted something deep inside him, a hunger to tell stories of his own. But life, as always, had other plans. At just 18, William married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior. Soon came 3 children: Susanna, then the twins, Hamnet and Judith. For a while, it seemed he would live the quiet life of a husband and father in Stratford. Yet behind that calm facade burned an ambition too fierce to be contained. Then came the mysterious years, the lost years. History falls silent here. No records, no letters, no clear path. Some say he worked as a teacher, others that he fled to London after trouble with the law. But whatever happened in those shadows, when William reappeared, he was a different man. He had found his stage. By the early 1590s, London was alive with music, laughter, and the smell of sawdust from its crowded playhouses. And there, in the midst of it all, Shakespeare arrived, penniless, unknown, but burning with purpose. He started as an actor, performing for coins and applause. But soon, his pen became his true weapon. In 1592, jealous rivals already whispered his name. A pamphlet from another playwright mocked this upstart crow, daring to compete with the learned men of the stage. But envy is the first shadow of greatness. When plague swept through London and the theaters closed, Shakespeare turned to poetry. His verses, like Venus and Adonis, spread through the city. People began to whisper, "This Shakespeare writes with fire." By 1594, he joined the Lord Chamberlain's Men, a company of actors who would soon dominate London's stages. He wasn't just writing for them, he was one of them. Actor, poet, playwright, a man shaping stories for living voices. Every line he wrote carried the heartbeat of humanity, the laughter of fools, the tears of lovers, the downfall of kings. His plays, Henry VI, Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, began to captivate audiences from the poorest laborer to the richest nobleman. In a world divided by class, his words united hearts. Then, in 1599, came a symbol of his triumph, the Globe Theatre. Built by his company on the south bank of the Thames, it became a temple of imagination, wood and canvas by design. Yet within those walls, kingdoms rose and fell. Lovers lived and died. Dreams burned and were reborn. Imagine the roar of the crowd as Julius Caesar premiered beneath an open sky. The gasps when Hamlet pondered life and death, the thunder of applause when Othello fell to jealousy's curse. Each play, a mirror held to the soul of humankind. Each word, a window into the heart. When Queen Elizabeth I died in 1603, the crown passed to King James I, and Shakespeare's troupe earned new honor. They became the King's Men, the official company of the royal court. Shakespeare was no longer just a writer. He was the voice of an age. Fame and fortune followed, but so did loss. In 1607, his beloved daughter Susanna married, but the next year, tragedy struck. His only son, Hamnet, died at just 11 years old. Grief shadowed his heart, and from that sorrow came some of his darkest, most powerful work: Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, plays that wrestled with fate, ambition, madness, and mortality itself. His characters spoke the fears we dare not speak. They questioned gods and kings alike. Through them, Shakespeare poured out the human soul in all its beauty and all its brokenness. By 1610, after decades of creation, applause, and heartbreak, William Shakespeare began to retreat from the stage. He returned to Stratford-upon-Avon, to the great house he had bought years before, New Place. There he walked among his gardens, wrote letters, visited old friends. He had seen the world rise around his words, but perhaps he knew that even the brightest flame must rest. On April 23, 1616, his 52nd birthday, William Shakespeare died. They laid him to rest in Holy Trinity Church, beneath a simple stone etched with a warning: "Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones." Even in death, his voice refused to be silenced. But this is not where the story ends, because Shakespeare's life didn't stop with his final breath. It began again with his words. 7 years later, 2 of his friends gathered his plays into a single book, the First Folio. Without it, half of his works might have vanished forever. Because of them, we still hear To Be or Not to Be. We still cry, laugh, dream, and love through the voices he gave us. Today, more than 4 centuries later, his words live everywhere. In theaters and classrooms, in films and songs, in every language, in every heart that has ever loved or lost. He gave us more than stories. He gave us ourselves. Think about it. A boy from a small English town with no wealth, no noble birth, no university education. And yet, he gave the world a vocabulary for its soul. He coined over 1,000 new words: bedazzled, cold-blooded, heart of gold. He shaped phrases that became the bones of our speech. All that glitters is not gold. Break the ice. Wear your heart on your sleeve. He didn't just write plays. He gave language emotion. He turned words into mirrors, and through them, humanity saw its reflection. So who was William Shakespeare, really? A poet? A dreamer? A genius born from struggle and chance? Perhaps he was something simpler. A man who listened, who watched, who dared to believe that stories could make us immortal. Because when the world forgets our faces, it remembers our words. And in every whispered line, every curtain rising, every actor taking the stage, Shakespeare lives again. The boy from Stratford still speaks, through the laughter of lovers, the cries of kings, the silence between heartbeats. He reminds us that greatness is not given, it is written. Line by line, word by word, dream by dream. And that is the legacy of William Shakespeare, the man who turned language into eternity. If you liked this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.